What if the most feared object in America, a diamond blamed for ruined marriages, lost fortunes and violent deaths, spent its final journey to safety inside a plain brown paper package, mailed like an ordinary letter? What if the curse everyone knows wasn't ancient at all, but invented by a jeweler in 1910 who couldn't find a buyer rich enough to afford his diamond and needed a better story than "It's beautiful"? And what if that fabricated story worked so well, it's still the version most people believe more than a century later? This is the hidden history of the Hope Diamond curse. The stone itself is real, and its origins are extraordinary without any supernatural help. Mined from India's Golconda region, it began its documented history as a much larger rough diamond known as the Tavernier Blue, brought to France in the 17th century. It was recut for King Louis XIV, stolen during the French Revolution, and resurfaced decades later in London, smaller and reshaped, in the possession of a wealthy banker and gem collector named Henry Philip Hope. The diamond took his name and kept it through every owner that followed. By the time it reached auction in the early 1900s, the stone already had a reputation as valuable and rare, a Type 2B diamond, a classification so uncommon it accounts for less than 0.1% of all natural diamonds. Its deep blue color caused by trace boron locked in its crystal structure 1 billion years ago. That part isn't legend, that's geology. The curse is where the real story splits from the true one. By the way, if you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who finds the hidden side of history fascinating. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. New episode every week. Now, back to the Hope Diamond. In 1910, French jeweler Pierre Cartier acquired the diamond and immediately ran into a problem. It was magnificent. It was also nearly impossible to sell. Cartier needed a buyer with more money than caution, and found one in Evelyn Walsh McLean, a young American heiress married into the family that owned the Washington Post. His first pitch failed. Evelyn wasn't impressed by the setting, so Cartier changed his approach, not by making the stone more beautiful, but by making it more dangerous. According to research later published by Smithsonian scholar Richard Curran, who spent years tracing the diamond's actual documented ownership history, Cartier began assembling a narrative of tragedy tied to the stone, past owners who had died violently, lost fortunes, or suffered ruin, all supposedly connected by their possession of the diamond. Curran's research concluded plainly: the curse is a fabrication, constructed specifically as a sales tool. It worked because Evelyn Walsh McLean, by her own accounts, believed cursed objects brought her good luck rather than bad. Cartier wasn't selling her a warning. He was selling her exactly the kind of story she wanted to hear. In 1911, she purchased the diamond for $180,000, roughly $6 million today, and wore it for the rest of her life, at galas, at home, reportedly even letting her Great Dane wear it around the house. The curse needed more than one salesman to survive. A woman named May Yohei, once married to an earlier owner of the stone, published her own account of the curse in a book and a film in 1921, directly blaming the diamond for the collapse of her marriage and the loss of the Hope family's fortune. Newspapers picked up pieces of her story, and between Cartier's sales narrative and Yohei's public account, the legend hardened into something that felt historical, even though neither source was reporting anything verified. What AI cross-referencing of ownership records, newspaper archives, and Kurin's research has done is separate the diamond's actual, provable history from the version assembled to sell it. Most of the owners blamed for the curse's supposed body count either prospered during their ownership or experienced misfortunes with mundane, unrelated causes. Illness, financial mismanagement, the ordinary risks of living in an era with far higher rates of accident and disease than today. The same pattern that turned an undocumented woman into Chloe at the Myrtles plantation, or gave a manufactured doll a fabricated curse instead of a shop window origin, repeats here with almost identical mechanics. Evelyn Walsh McLean did experience real tragedy during her ownership. She lost her young son in an accident, and her family faced real hardship in later years. Those losses were genuine and painful. There's no documented connection between the diamond and any of it beyond the story's own insistence that there should be one. McLean died of pneumonia in 1947. Her estate, burdened by debt, was forced to sell the diamond. Jeweler Harry Winston purchased the collection in 1949. Then, in November 1958, Winston did something that undercuts the entire mythology more effectively than any historian's footnote. He donated the Hope diamond to the Smithsonian and mailed it there. The postage cost $145.29. It was insured for $1 million, delivered by an ordinary mail carrier, the same way anyone might receive a package from a relative. An object supposedly capable of destroying kings, fortunes, and marriages spent its final journey inside a cardboard box, riding in a postal truck. The diamond has remained at the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History ever since, viewed by millions of visitors every year, most of whom have heard some version of the curse before they ever see the stone itself. What's actually confirmed by the Smithsonian's own published research is straightforward. No curse. A real diamond, a real geological rarity, and a completely human story of a salesman who understood something that still drives luxury marketing today. People don't just buy objects. They buy the story attached to them. The Hope diamond sits behind reinforced glass today, exactly where a brown paper package delivered it. Nobody who has owned it has ever been definitively harmed by it. Look around. History is everywhere.